Destiny Richmond. In my day life, I'm a privacy and cybersecurity attorney.
I'm Michael McGrath. I'm an operations manager at Roan Labs and a former Georgetown debater.
I would now like our students to introduce themselves. Please state your full name, school, and which side of the debate you are currently on.
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony P. I represent Henry Ford High School on the affirmative side of today's debate.
Hi, I'm Legacy Willis, and I represent Henry Ford. I'm on the affirmative side of today's resolution.
Hello, my name is Javion Carter. I'm a 12th grader, and I proudly represent Cody High School, and I am on the negative side of the debate.
I am Tristan Grant. I am from Cody High School, and I am on the negative side of the debate.
Coaches of competing teams, please stand or raise your hand to be acknowledged by spectators and judges.
I thought she said coach.
What did she
We are now ready to begin round 2. The resolution for this debate is cancel culture has been net harmful to Black intellectual discourse. Representing the affirmative side, we have Henry Ford.
Yes.
Representing the negative side, we have Cody.
Absolutely.
Important reminders, each speaker will have designated time to present their arguments. Time begins when they say their first word. If a speaker exceeds their allotted time, gently remind them that their time has concluded, allowing them to finish their final statement/sentence. Use of electronics is not permitted by coaches, competitors, or teammates in the round. Failure to comply with this rule will result in a forfeit. Please maintain respectful decorum throughout the debate. Let's have a great debate. Good luck to all teams. Now we're going to begin with the first affirmative constructive speech. Please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
You are canceled. How do you feel when I say that? Did you feel I was being progressive? Does it feel as though I want to have intellectual discourse with you? Think about your answer throughout my case. Hello, my name is Anthony P. I represent Henry Ford High School on the affirmative side of today's resolution. Cancel culture has been net harmful for Black intellectual discourse. Cancel culture can punish speech, turning disagreement into exclusion. The lines between accountability and harassment are blurred, and judges, today I'm going to prove to you why cancel culture has been net harmful. But first, let's start with our value, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech has been recognized as a human right for over 2,000 years. Something that sticks within society for that long isn't something to take lightly. Judges, I urge you to vote for the team that can protect our rights to freedom of speech. Contention 1, cancel culture amplifies cyberbullying and online harm. Cancel culture in concept is a form of social rejection or boycott meant to hold someone accountable for behavior perceived as unacceptable. However, in practice, cancel culture often becomes harmful, leading to mass online harassment. According to Science Direct, many participants engage in cancel culture to justify aggressive behavior. The ability to be anonymous paired with the large-scale participation makes online spaces prone to cyberbullying. Before the term cancel culture was coined, cyberbullying rates were low. But when compared to later studies, there was an increase of over 3 million Americans all saying they've personally experienced cyberbullying. Cancel culture creates environments where harassment is socially rewarded, responsibility is diffused, and harm is justified as moral action. Contention 2, mob mentality. Judges, conformity is within our human nature. When you see a group of people all running one direction, do you continue to go your own way? Or do you consider danger, run with them, or even just be a little bit more cautious as you move along? That right there is mob mentality. James Baldwin says, a mob of people is bound together not by a shared purpose, but by a shared blind panic. When you are in a blind panic, it is definitive that within that moment, you lack the social individuality to stop and hold intellectual discourse. Mob mentality is engraved within cancel culture. So if mob mentality is harmful for Black intellectual discourse, so is cancel culture. Mobs want consequences, not conversations. Contention 3, cancel culture harms communities. Karen Attia is an award-winning opinion journalist on the Washington Post. Writing from a personal view allows community viewpoints that were once underrepresented to now have a platform. Her position alone provides mass representation for the Black community within Washington, but she was fired. Karen made some comments on gun violence, which led to her losing her job. By firing her, the Washington Post is silencing their own employee and in turn an entire community because she was the last Black staff member at the Washington Post, the last Black voice. Ward 8 in DC is a predominantly Black area with over 70,000 people. If the one Black voice that could bring attention to that whole area is gone, cancel culture is harming entire communities. Over 70,000 people identifying as Black lost their voice that day thanks to cancel culture. Of course, because there are Black individuals in other areas in Washington, we can assume that number increases significantly. This is just one instance of cancel culture causing harm to Black intellectual discourse, and well over 70,000 people were affected. Judges, if that isn't that harmful, I don't know what is. You are canceled. How do you feel when I say that? I urge you to vote affirmative. Thank you.
It is time for the negative cross-examination. You have 2.5 minutes, and the time will start when you ask your first question.
Again, judges, my name is Javion Carter, and I'll be asking you a few questions. If cancel culture is harmful, should we just let harmful students go unchallenged? Isn't that a recipe for injustice?
Should we let harmful students go unpunished?
Yes. The question was, if you want me to restate
Yes,
it,
please.
if cancel culture is harmful, should we just let harmful students go unchallenged?
No.
Another question. Do you believe that people in our community should remain silent when faced with racism just to avoid being canceled?
No.
Alrighty. If cancel culture empowers people to stand up, why is it seen as a negative?
Cancel. Can you repeat that one more time?
If cancel culture empowers people to stand up, why is it seen as a negative?
I've not personally seen cancel culture cause people to stand up. I've seen cancel culture silence people and harm communities and foster a culture. Like I stated, there's a study that shows that people use cancel culture to justify aggressive behavior. I don't think that it's inspiring people to speak. I think it's inspiring people to let out a little bit of anger in a not so healthy way.
Alrighty. So I just have a few more questions. So my question is, what exactly counts as Black intellectual discourse?
Black intellectual discourse is, well, intellectual discourse. Discourse is essentially just conversation, and intellectual implies that it's like smart or productive, right? So the Black intellectual discourse would be productive and or smart sharing of ideas or concepts or conversations between Black people. So that's what I define Black intellectual discourse as.
All right, Anthony, that was great. Okay, number 6. If millions of people debate issues online, doesn't that expand discourse?
Yeah, I'd say that a discourse is expanded when people are talking about things online. Yeah.
All right. So, do you believe communities should be able to boycott companies and public figures as an act of?
Yeah, boycott is totally fine. Like I said, it's cancel culture was actually intended to be, in theory, a form of boycott or holding people accountable for behavior perceived as unacceptable. But however, in practice, cancel culture often becomes more harmful, leading to mass online harassment.
Alrighty.
That is
If
time's up.
alright.
Okay. Thank you.
It is time for the first negative constructive speech. Please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
Good afternoon, judges, timekeepers, and fellow debaters. My name is Javion Carter, and I proudly represent Cody High School. Today, we negate the resolution that cancel culture is net harmful to the Black intellectual discourse. The affirmative argue that cancel culture suppresses debate, but the negative shows something very different. Throughout history, criticism, protest, and public pressure has been essential tools used by Black communities to challenge injustice and hold powerful institutions accountable. The negative presents three main arguments. One, public criticism and accountability have always been a part of Black intellectual transition. Two, with the affirmative cause, cancel culture is often collective political action. Three, public backlash can actually expand and strengthen intellectual discourse. First, criticism and accountability has always been central to Black intellectual discourse. Black history is filled with debates between leaders who strongly disagree about the best strategies for liberation. For example, W.E.B. Du Bois publicly criticized Booker T. Washington's political strategy and argued that Black Americans should demand full civil rights immediately rather than wait for gradual change. These debates were intense and public, but they helped shape stronger movements for equality. Intellectual discourse do not grow when everyone agrees. It grows when people challenge ideas and hold leaders accountable. This shows that criticism and pressure are not harmful to discourse. They are a part of how discourse works. Second, the affirmative cause cancel culture is often simply collective political action. A clear example of this is the recent boycott of the retail corporation known as Target. The boycott began after Target rolled back several diversity, equity, and inclusion commitments that many Black consumers believe supported their communities. According to the report from the 19th News, Black women started the movement to boycott the retail giant after it made a U-turn on its commitments to racial equity. Grassroots activists, community leaders, and organizations across the country encouraged people to stop shopping at Target. Until the company addressed those concerns, the boycott had a real economic impact. The same report explains that the movement played a key in a role in a year of declining sales and profits that forced CEO Brian Cornell to step down, while Target's stock price dropped about 30% in 2025. This example shows that boycotts are not silence in the debate. They are about holding powerful institutions accountable through collective economic pressure. One participant in the movement explained that the boycott happened because communities feel their trust has been broken. As one organizer stated, people have taken advantage of Black people in our dollars. They disrespect us, they don't respect us or our money. This type of organized economic pressure has been a long part of social adjustments. For example, the Montgomery Boys boycott used the same strategy to challenge segregation during the Civil Rights Movement, rather than harming. Third, public criticism can actually expand intellectual discourse by bringing more people into the conversation. Social media and public activism allows millions of people to participate in discussions about politics. In conclusion, the negative shows that cancel culture is not the threat to affirmative claims. Public criticism and accountability has been a part of the Black intellectual tradition. And in many cases, public backlash actually encourages deeper conversations about justice and social responsibility. Instead of weakening intellectual discourse, these forms of accountability can strengthen it. For these reasons, we negate that you vote for the negative. Thank you.
It is time for the affirmative cross-examination. You have 2.5 minutes, and the time will start when you ask your first question.
So about the Target boycott, can you estimate the impact for that? Around how many people were affected?
So as I stated in my speech, for their stock to drop 30%, it has to have been approximately about 5,000 people in a sense.
Okay.
Next question.
Okay. When was this? I might have missed that, sorry.
All right, okay, I'll tell you, give me 2 seconds. All righty, so the boycott took place in 2025, so the sentence that, to answer your question, the stock price dropped about 13% in 2025.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit more about the Montgomery boycott?
Yes. So the Montgomery boycott was came upon once Rosa Parks was arrested because she did not just want to give her seat. For that, she was arrested, and Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks came together to do that. Now, the process of that and the reason for doing that is because they believe that in order to change something or to force, as I stated in my passage, to force somebody to change, you have to bring pressure. So the pressure was, we are not riding your bus because you're not treating our people with the right respect.
Okay. Can you repeat your value?
Yes. 2 seconds. So our value for the negative, as I stated, which is our thesis, throughout history, criticism, protest, and public pressure has been essential to.
I'm sorry. I just need the title of your value. Just the quick answer.
Alrighty. 2 seconds. Ours is how cancel culture is not harmful for the Black community.
Okay. Do you believe cancel culture involves large groups of people publicly criticizing someone?
I would not say criticizing, right? But in order, so that what you just, your question was mainly about bandwagon. Bandwagon is when a group of people criticize one person. While cancel culture, in a sense, is when a group or more can go after a company, an institution. It's just not related to just one person.
Okay, so you say it would not be. Okay. Oh, time? Okay.
It is time for the second affirmative constructive speech. Please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
Hello, judges. Today, my partner and I uphold freedom of speech. And I ask you, if cancel culture puts a target on the backs of every Black thinker, is our speech really free? If this society silences us, does our First Amendment still stand? My name is Legacy Willis, and I represent the affirmative side of today's resolution. I'm going to begin by extending our contentions, and I'm going to knock down why the negative arguments are agreeing with us. Extended contention 1. Cancel culture often amplifies cyberbullying, especially against Black people, under the disguise of accountability. This turns into mass harassment where being anonymous online fuels harmful behavior. Pew Research Center shows that 59% of Black internet users face harassment, with 38% of them being targeted because of their race. For Black individuals, this leads to severe consequences like job loss, social isolation, and racial bias, often ensuring a harsher outcome. Cancel culture pushes inequality rather than accountability. Extended contention 2. Mob mentality takes cancel culture from accountability to punishment without looking at intent or context. Online mobs react emotionally, which hits Black people the hardest because they have fewer chances to recover and harsher public judgment. Studies show that 21% of Black teens and 25% of Black adults have been harassed online because of their race. In 2016, Turning Point USA launched its Professor Watch List. The Professor Watch List publicly named Black professors or professors supporting of Black rights, which exposed them to threats, harassment, and career harm. When online mobs pile on, it turns cancel culture into a tool that disproportionately harms Black thinkers. Extended contention 3. Our third contention isn't just about Karen and Tia. Her being fired reflects a dangerous pattern of suppressing Black intellectual discourse. Jamel Hill suspended by ESPN for political criticism. Mark Lamont Hill, who lost his role at CNN for voicing his views. This isn't accountability. It's a clear message that when we silence prominent Black journalists and activists, we don't just cancel an individual, we eliminate a voice for the entire community. Nearly 1 in 4 Americans say they fear expressing their opinions due to possible professional consequences. This leads to widespread self-censorship. Black individuals are facing career-ending consequences. Cancel culture is silence, not justice. Not expose my opponent's case. My opponent said that cancel culture has been a tool for accountability, but a 2020 Cato Institute survey found that 62% of Americans are afraid to share their political views because they worry others might find their views offensive. Accountability requires open dialogue, criticism, and opportunity and room to grow. If a majority of people are self-censoring out of fear, that means ideas aren't being debated, they're being suppressed. In Black intellectual discourse specifically, this change limits to what people feel they can and cannot say and stops us from questioning our own ideas. My opponent also said that cancel culture is may have said that something about cancel culture being used as a political tool, but we disagree. It actually shuts down Black voices. Look at what happened to Jamel Hill, Mark Lamont Hill, and Karen Attia. They lost their jobs all because of their political comments. This proves that the tool that is being used against Black thinkers, it makes people feel makes people afraid to speak up. That is self-censorship. It forces us to silence our ideas instead of truly empower us. Please vote affirmative. Thank you.
It is time for the negative cross-examination. You have 2.5 minutes, and the time will start when you ask your first question.
Okay. Is freedom of speech also hate speech?
No, because we have a list of concepts that are not protected within the freedom of speech. Would you like the list?
Yes.
The court generally identifies these categories as obscenity, defamation, fraud, incitement, fighting words, true threats, speech inaugural to criminal conduct, and child pornography.
Okay. So you said that 1 in 4 Americans fear cancellation, right? So how, are all of these Black Americans, or are they from every ethnicity and race?
I said nearly 1 in 4 Americans say they fear expressing their opinions due to professional consequences. And yeah, I think that's for all Americans, but Black individuals are facing career-ending consequences because of that. Not all Americans when they speak about ideas are facing career-ending consequences.
So can you explain to me how that includes the Black community?
Because right after that sentence, I said Black individuals are facing career-ending consequences. Cancel culture is silence, not justice. And I have evidence to show that 59% of Black internet users face harassment, with 38% of them being targeted because of their race. And yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me the difference between freedom of speech and hate speech?
So, as I said before, I have a list of stuff that's protected. So you're saying that there's freedom of speech and hate speech. Basically saying things like fighting words, true threats, incitement, and other things like that.
Okay. So,
Time is up. And I don't want to see any nodding between the people competing and the people in the audience. It is time for the second negative constructive speech. Please approach the podium. You have 4 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
Good afternoon, judges. I am Tristan Grant, representing Cody for the negative constructive. The negative would like to extend our argument that what the affirmative calls cancel culture is simply often collective accountability and democratic participation, especially through social media. The best example of this is the recent Target boycott organized largely by Black consumers online. According to reporting from the 19 News, the movement began where Target reversed several commitments to diversity and racial equality. The article explains that Black women started the movement to boycott the retail giant after it made a U-turn on its commitments to racial equality. Social media play a critical role in organizing the spreading awareness about this boycott. Activists, organizers, and every consumer use platforms like Instagram and other networks to mobilize support across the country. The same report explains many participants use social media to reinforce their commitments to the movement. One participant explains that communities felt companies were taking advantage of their economic power, saying people have taken advantage of Black people and our dollars. They don't respect us and they don't respect our money. This kind of digital organization allows people across the country to participate in political activism and economic protests. And the boycott had real impact. According to the article, the movement played a key role in a year of declining sales and profits that forced CEO Brian Cornell to stop down while Target stock prices dropped 30% in 2025. This shows that public pressure can be an effective tool for accountability. Now we will respond directly to the affirmative arguments. First, the affirmative claims cancel culture suppresses new political ideas, but the Target boycott proves the opposite. Social media allows thousands of people, especially Black women, to organize politically and make their voices heard. Instead of suppressing discourse, social media expanded participation and brought more voices into the conversation. Second, the affirmative argues cancel culture creates fear and self-censorship. However, the boycott example shows that people are actively speaking out and organizing publicly. The movement itself demonstrates that discourse is not disappearing, it is becoming more participatory. Third, the affirmative points two examples of individuals face backlash online, but individual controversy do not prove the intellectual discourse disappears. In fact, controversy often speaks more debate and discussion across communities and media platforms. The negative impact is clear. Social pressure and collective criticism have always been a tool for social change. From the Montgomery boycott to modern online activism, communities have used economic pressure and public accountability to challenge injustice. Social media now allows these movements to spread faster and involve more people instead of harming intellectual discourse. Cancel culture, or what we have called public accountability, can make discourse more democratic, participatory, and impactful. For these reasons, the negative position should win this round.
It is time for the affirmative cross-examination. You have 2.5 minutes, and the time will start when you ask your first question.
So, if people fear losing their jobs for speaking up about ideas about stuff that's happening in their community, is their speech truly free?
Yes, because the First Amendment right proves that, but just because you are free doesn't mean that accountability will not be there.
If speaking about your community gets you punished, would that not discourage others from speaking about the same thing?
No.
Can you explain how free speech exists for Black thinkers if the social and professional cost of using that free speech is loss of their livelihood?
Can you restate that question?
Can you explain how free speech is used for black thinkers and if the social and professional cost of using that speech is lost of their, like I said, jobs, opportunities, and etc.?
Well, in my argument, it states that the people who started the Target boycott was actually black. No one who was of color did lose their job during this boycott, but Target did pay the price, losing 30% of its revenue in 2025.
If a mob reacts emotionally without looking at intent or context, and society already holds harsher public judgment against black individuals, is it true that a black person is less likely to receive the benefit of the doubt than a white person?
Can you restate that, please?
If a mob reacts emotionally and collectively without looking at intent, like I stated in my case, and society already holds harsher public judgment to black individuals, is it true that a black person will be less likely to receive the benefit of the doubt than a white person?
Well, no, I don't think they would.
Okay. Losing a job or platform can permanently limit future opportunities, correct?
No, it can't actually.
Do you have any evidence to prove that or back that up?
Okay. So say your question one more time.
Losing a job or platform can permanently limit future opportunities, correct?
A job or okay.
You wanted to finish the thought?
Okay. An example. Okay. So yeah, without social media, you can still have like, even if you lose your platform, you can still have other ways to get the word out or actually like reach out to people with, actual newspapers or flyers.
It is time. We will now take a 2-minute break. Please use this time to prepare for rebuttals. After the 2 minutes are up, I will announce that, and if the coaches aren't gone within 10 seconds, I will instruct the judges for the 10-point deduction. is over. It is time for the negative rebuttal. Please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
Judges, at the end of this debate, the question is simple. Does cancel culture weaken Black intellectual discourse, or does it strengthen accountability and participation within communities? The negative wins this round for two main reasons. First, the affirmative claims cancel culture suppresses ideas and discourages debate. But the negative has shown that what the affirmative calls cancel culture is often simply communities holding powerful institutions accountable. Our example of the Target boycott demonstrates that people organize collectively to respond to a corporation's discussion about diversity and equality commitments. That movement was not silencing ideas, it was about using economic pressure and public criticism to demand change. The affirmative tries to separate boycotts from cancel culture, but both involves people expressing disapproval and choosing not to support certain actions of institutions. Throughout history, similar forms of protest have been essential tools for social change. Public criticism and collective actions are part of democratic participation, not the disruption of intellectual discourse. Second, the affirmative argues that cancel culture discourages speech because people may fear backlash, but the negative shows that social media and public activism actually expands participation in debates instead of limiting discourse to elites or institutions. These platforms allow many people to speak about issues affecting their communities rather than suppressing discourse. Public criticism often creates more discussion and engagement. When we weigh the impact in this round, the negative position is stronger. The affirmative argues that cancel culture may discourage some speech, but the negative demonstrates that accountability movements allow communities to challenge injustice and hold powerful institutions responsible without criticism and public pressure. Harmful actions and ideas go unchallenged because collective accountability strengthens democratic participation and encourages communities to engage in public debates. The negative clearly wins this round. Thank you.
It is time for the affirmative rebuttal. Please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes, and the time will start when you say your first word.
You are canceled. Remember that? I asked you how that felt, and the negative has spent the rest of the round trying to convince you that those words represent progress. But by the end of the speech, I'm going to show you that the negative has accidentally canceled their own case. As I established in my opening, freedom of speech is a right that has been recognized for over 2,000 years. It is the infrastructure of our society. We proved that speech isn't free if it comes with a career-ending price tag. The negative side says, and I quote, the affirmative side claims that cancel culture suppresses debate. Judges, our 3 reasons for cancel culture being net harmful have nothing to do with that. They have to do with cyberbullying, mob mentality, and community harm. We never claimed that it suppressed debate. This not only shows a lack of attention on their part, but a loss of focus. Our reasons still stand. The negative side says cancel culture is just collective political actions. Judges, we aren't going to slap a new name on it and say it isn't harmful. Cancel culture is harmful. People are being bullied, which, as most of us know, can lead to suicide or even self-hate, especially when it's because of race. Which is, again, 38% of Black Americans experiencing cyberbullying because of their race. The Target boycott ended successfully, with an impact of around 5,000 people as estimated by the opposing side. We aren't here to say that cancel culture is all bad. We are here to say it is net harmful. 70,000 people were affected in one instance, judges. That's harm. The negative side says, and I quote, cancel culture is not a threat like the affirmative side claims. We have more than proved the threat, our First Amendment right, our autonomy. The negative loses today because they're defending a tool that is consistently used against the people they claim to help. We win on the logic of mob mentality. I asked you at the beginning, if you see a crowd running, do you run with them or think for yourself? James Baldwin said a mob is bound by a blind panic. Mobs want consequences, not conversations. We win because we proved you cannot have intellectual discourse when the mob has replaced the individual. We win on the impact of community harm. The negative cannot run from the math. When Karen Atia was fired, it wasn't just a loss for the Washington Post. It was a loss for 70,000 Black residents of Ward 8 who lost their only representative voice. We win because we showed measurable, massive scales of harm. From Jamel Hill to Mark Lamont Hill, we showed that when you cancel the thinker, you cancel the community. Judges, the round is over. Vote affirmative. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for your participation. Judges, please take up to 5 minutes to independently finalize your decisions and turn in your ballots to me. Once I have received all ballots, judges will have up to 3 minutes to discuss final remarks to be given to competitors. Once again, we appreciate everyone for being here. Best of luck to all teams.
Good job.